Hi, my name is Jason Palmer, and I'm an English teacher from Toronto, Canada. And today, we're going to talk about some tips on improving your spoken English without a partner. Okay, the first tip I have for you is to practice telling stories in English. Now, this is a very useful exercise because actually when you speak in your language, you might often tell stories when you talk to someone about your day or you tell someone about your past. So it's very useful to practice telling stories. So you can imagine maybe writing a story about your day in English. You could even write a journal about your day in English. So it really gives you a practical way that you can use your English and learn at the same time. If you're a fan of music, another way to improve your English is by singing to English songs. It might sound a little ridiculous, but singing to English songs, this is a great way to improve your fluency, so feel free to sing as much as you like. Think in English. Now, this might sound simple, but really one difficulty people have when learning English is that they tend to think in their own language and translate everything they say as they speak. This really makes learning a language difficult because you can only translate at a very slow speed. So the faster you can start to think in English, the easier it will be. So you can think about your day, maybe plan your day, and think about different things you see in English. If you're sitting in a room and you look around, you see the wall, the chair, you can think about these things with English words. It's a great way to get your mind thinking in English. Talk to yourself. It sounds a little bit crazy, but if you don't have a partner to practice with, there's really no problem talking to yourself. You can have little conversations, make up conversations that sound realistic, just because you're really practicing for real-world situations. And again, you can feel free to make mistakes and practice as much as possible. So there's no problem when talking to yourself. Read out loud. Now, this is one of my favorites because this is an easy way to train your mouth to speak English and improve your fluency. I always recommend to many of my students to read as much in English because, of course, you'll learn vocabulary and you'll learn a lot by reading. But speak out loud as you read. It really is speaking practice, and in fact, you're speaking exactly like a native speaker because you're speaking perfect English. And it's great for your mouth, so you get to practice and improve your fluency. So the more speaking you can do in any way in English will definitely improve you. Listen and repeat. Now, this is actually a very natural way to learn English. This is the way that children learn any language, really, when you think about it. So you could listen to music or you could listen to TV shows and movies. And you can imagine, while listening to TV shows and movies, that you just repeat what you hear. And that's basically what this exercise is. The more you repeat what other people say, the more you'll sound more natural. And again, it's more speaking practice. So it's a great idea to learn to listen and repeat. It improves your listening as well. Learn word forms. So by this I mean when you learn new words, you should learn perhaps the forms that are used in past, present, continuous. For example, if you learn the verb to run. So he ran, I'm running, they run. This will really help you to learn the base word and to remember this verb, run. So practice as much as possible, learning the different word forms of every word you learn. This is a great way to keep it in your mind and to remember it later. Learn phrases, not just words. Now, this is a very important one because nowadays a lot of people use different apps or different programs or maybe different writing techniques to try to memorize a list of words. And well, that's a good idea. It's hard to remember these words if you don't really know what they're for. So learning phrases is a great way to practice using these words in sentences and other constructions. Also, it's a great way to see how these words are used and to learn phrases for different situations. And when you learn phrases, you really can develop your skill and sound more like a native speaker. So I recommend learning phrases, not just the words. Learn the most common sayings or expressions in English. Now, this is very useful. A lot of people, when they're first learning a language, they will learn common expressions and sayings. You can really learn a lot from the language by using these common expressions. And they can make you feel more confident, more comfortable, because you know that this is the right way to speak. So learning as many expressions and sayings as possible, I think, is a good idea when learning English. Prepare for specific situations. Now, this is a way that a lot of people learn English, actually, because quite often they need to push themselves. Maybe they have a job interview, maybe they have a presentation they need to do. So this is a time when these people actually learn a lot in English because they force themselves to learn for a specific situation. And the reality is you're learning English so that you can communicate in specific situations with people. So I highly recommend, for practice, to imagine a very common situation, maybe a job interview or maybe a presentation, or maybe buying something from the store. Of course, these will make you feel more confident, will likely make you try harder and want to practice more. So these are great useful ways to practice English. Another great way to learn English when you don't have a partner, and maybe a great way to practice your fluency, is by using tongue twisters. Now, these can be very difficult and it's unlikely that you can get very good at these, but they are good practice to maybe force your brain to work hard and learn English better. One example would be a very simple one. We could say, I scream, you scream, we all scream for ice cream. So you could say it really fast. I scream, you scream, we all scream for ice cream. Another one we could use is Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. A peck of pickled peppers Peter Piper picked. If Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, where's the peck of pickled peppers Peter Piper picked? So I'm not very good at tongue twisters, but you can try and try really fast, and this might improve your English a little bit more. And the last tip I have for you is to always remember to relax. One of the best ways to learn a language really is to be able to relax and know that you're going to make mistakes. Making mistakes is perfectly natural and normal, and maybe the biggest thing that will hold you back is when you're afraid of making them. So go ahead and practice, make as many mistakes as you can, and that's the best way to learn. So relax, enjoy the process, and English only gets easier. Okay, to review, ways to improve your spoken English without a partner: be sure to tell stories, sing to English songs, think in English, talk to yourself, focus on fluency by reading a book aloud, use tongue twisters, listen and repeat when you watch TV shows or movies, learn word forms, the past, present, or continuous form of different words. Make sure to learn phrases, not just words. Also, learn your most common sayings in English. Prepare for specific situations, and be sure to relax. Don't worry about making mistakes. So, this has been Jason Palmer, and I'll see you next time.